going to read about revision in Kenya. And as I revision Kenya this afternoon, I will look back into our country's history, and I shall be reflective. As I revision Kenya this afternoon, I will attempt to look into the future, and I shall be projective. I look back 500 years into Kenya's history, and I see a people oppressed and deprived by the shackles of slavery. I see a country ripped off its God-given resources, a people torn out of their motherland, handcuffed and shipped off to faraway lands to build cities and metropolis, to toil on cotton farms on whose cotton they shall never weave clothes to cover their backs. I see a generation that will not fight over acres of land in the Rift Valley, but a generation that realizes that the biggest shamba is the one between one's ears. I belong to that generation. I belong to the Kizazi Kipya generation. And in fact, I am a soldier in the Kizazi Kipya generation. And we are recruiting Kenyans of goodwill. I look into Kenya's future, and I see a generation that made a choice to revision Kenya.
What's been coming out in the revisioning talks, you can't wait for the government forever. I think, if you wait for the government forever, you might leave it to your great-great-grandchildren to receive. About 7 years ago, people kept talking about the death of Kenyan literature. They kept talking about the 60s when people used to write so much. They kept saying, oh, if only. And suddenly, in comes Binyavanga, in comes a small group of people. And look, suddenly, writing is really cool again. People are, many books are being published, or at least more than any time in our history or in the last, sort of 30 years. So that didn't happen with government support. So I think film needs government support, but I think as filmmakers we all need to do everything we can to tell our stories without having to wait with our begging bowls. Yeah.
They had nice jackets, so it was like as if they were businessmen, and they would show up at restaurants, supermarkets, vendors on the street, and they would pull out a gun and put the cashier on the gunpoint and say everything is now 1 shilling. Or whatever the equivalent of Australian money was. That was the idea of price control in I remember thinking to myself, at this time I must have been 7, 8, thinking to myself, I don't know what the alternative is, but this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Give every square, every thought that you have, every energy that you have to solve the problem. You expect somebody else to solve it. Solve the problem. And I use metaphorically, and I say the problem is standing in front of you, smiling. Because you are saying so and so is the one who put the problem there. It is Mr. X, it is the politician, it is the business guy, it is the so and so. And the problem is saying thank you very much because you are not touching me.
Those who are heads of communities, how we exercise that leadership and how people we are leading, what they see, put them in the positions that we then become in a position of power, they can follow that. A brief synopsis I'll give from Sierra Leone when I was a kid growing up, because of the political corruption, Shaka Stephen, who was in power, our ministers were stealing money left and right, going to Switzerland. Every now and then they will find a diamond, they will talk about it on television. This is the biggest diamond we found. And 2 days later they will come back and say, Actually, that diamond that we found wasn't a diamond, it was just a shiny stone. And then a few days later, that person will be gone somewhere, they escaped with the diamond. So what happened is that a lot of the young people, including that growing up, people wanted to go to school to become a minister. More importantly, to become the finance minister. And when you ask them why, because they wanted to steal the money and go to Switzerland.
You see the power of the word. And ultimately everything starts from thoughts, and then from thoughts into words into action. And in all the things I have done, the power of the word has been the things that have moved me, corrected me, counseled me, directed me. To me, one of the things that, as I was trying to emphasize there, is the word that I would like to package, to see it being packaged, is the one of hope. The one that, yes, all is not dead, all not the end of it, but there is hope at the end of the tunnel. In fact, there is great possibilities ahead of us.